Uh, well, when he was a young man, he was a bootlegger,
Okay. All right.
and he was a gambler.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my grandma used to sit up at night bottling beer.
Mm-hmm.
And one night, he was listening to the radio, and there was a preacher on there that my dad knelt down. He only went to the fifth grade. And he said the prayer of salvation, said, God, if you'll teach me to read and write, I'll preach your word.
Mm.
And he did that, and he learned to read and write. He preached for almost 40 years. And my mom was the most beautiful housekeeper you could ever know. She was a great mother. She was like all women back in those ages, you know. You didn't buy too many things, you made things, you know.
That's awesome.
I wore so many feed sack shirts.
Yeah?
You know, I thought it was going to smell like a feed bag.
Sweet.
It was great. Yeah, and my dad also, he was a carpenter.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I taught him how to read the divisions of his rule. Before that, he would be working, and he would call out 2 small ones, 1 big one in the measure. You know,
Yeah.
5 inches, 2 small ones, 1 big one. You know. But I did. I sat down one night and I taught him how to read the scale.
Mm. What sort of things would he build as a carpenter?
He built our house.
Oh, wow.
He built 4 churches, 5 churches. And it was, after all that carpenter work and everything he did over the years, he was building some rabbit hutches.
Oh, okay.
And he was out there by himself. He was singing, and he had his circular saw, and he was trimming off the edge of the boards on the roof. And he had pulled the guide back, and he just let the guide go, and there went his finger.
Oh, no.
Yeah, cut his index finger off.
Yikes.
He come to my house, told my mother, said, I hurt myself real bad. Here's his finger dangling down on the skin between.
Wow. So he spent the rest of his life without a finger then.
Oh yeah, but I tell you what, without that finger, he learned to write, and it was better writing than it was before.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You said he was building a rabbit hutch?
Yeah.
What's that? What's a rabbit hutch?
For rabbits.
For eating or for pets?
For eating.
Yum.
Oh yeah.
That sounds great. My dad said he was thinking of raising rabbits for eating. Because
Really?
they breed really fast, right?
Yeah.
You can have like a rabbit once every 2 weeks almost, baby rabbit.
Well, it seems like it.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot of meat.
yeah, and the bottom of their cage is that number 4 wire fabric.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
And so the floor of the cage stays cleaned up all the
Oh,
time.
okay, all right. Makes it
But
pretty
the
easy.
ground below, you have to shovel it.
What were you and your brothers and sisters doing on a given day as kids? After school or just in general on the weekend?
That's a good question.
Oh man. probably up until I was getting ready to go to high school. Man, we roamed the woods. All kind of forest
Mm.
down there. And my two older sisters and my older brother, there was 5 years difference between my brother and myself.
Mm.
And the two girls, they were the oldest. So we didn't have that much to do with each other than brother and sister in home,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Otherwise, our daily activities were completely different.
Mm.
You know. My younger brother, he was 2 years younger than me, so we were always outside running, romping, and like I say, out in the woods. There was quite a few kids in our neighborhood we run with.
Mm. So you would have been 11 when the war ended. Do you remember how that affected Texas and affected your hometown?
Oh yeah, man. My two sisters had gotten married during the wartime. Their husbands come home on leave, and my younger sister, her husband was in the Army, and he never got shipped overseas.
Mm.
My older sister, she married her husband was a sailor, and he came home. They got married, and I think he came home one other time, and then he went back to the ship, and he was on watch in a gun turret, and he had to go to the head, and the guy relieved him. Or opposite story. A guy that was on watch needed to go to the head. My brother-in-law stepped in, and while he relieved it, a kamikaze come and hit the gun turret. And killed him instantly.
Mm.
My brother, he was 17. He joined the Merchant Marines,
Mm.
and he made a trip to Japan. He come back. He's turning 18. Had a girlfriend. It was time for my brother to catch another ship, and it was I think it was an oiler.
Mm.
And it pulled out of Houston, and for some reason it went to New Orleans. That short distance, I don't know what they were doing or why they would make that short of a trip.
Mm-hmm.
But while he was over there, that ship, he decided, was too dirty and filthy and unsanitary, and he jumped that ship.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know what kind of contract or anything they had, or even if they had a contract.
Right, because it
I'm
was
sure
the
there
merchant
agreements,
Marines. Yeah.
you know. But anyway, he come back and he and Faye took off, got married, and when he came back, he joined the Navy.
So whatever he did didn't preclude him from joining the Navy.
No.
Guy getting off that ship, it didn't hurt anything.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty happy about
Which
it.
brother was this, Papa?
That was my older brother,
Okay. What was his whole name?
Richard.
Yeah.
Richard Lee. He was a junior.
Yeah.
Of course, the first boy always had to be a junior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uncle Dick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't called by that name until he went into the service.
Uh-huh.
He'd always been called RL.
Really?
Yeah, down to the south, initials were the name tag, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he came back home and there was no more RL. It was always Dick.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And then your other brother.
Yeah, Marvin. He was pretty lazy. He did not like to work.
Really?
Yeah. But he joined the Navy and had a little sweetheart there, and they got married, and they didn't even, I don't think they even knew their middle names.
Mm.
You know, and it didn't last long. And he became a barber. He cut hair a long time. Married a woman that worked for the district attorney's office. She had 3 kids. Never was a good place to be.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
My brother and the kids, they never did get a good relationship for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm.
And if I'd have been him, I would not have married the woman that
Mm-hmm.
he married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. So, but all 3 of you ended up in the Navy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Marvin got out as soon as his 3-year enlistment was
Uh-huh.
up. And Dick went ahead. He made chief petty officer. He was a yeoman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had 1 year to go for retirement. And he had been stationed on shore duty in Florida. And it was there at NASA. And his shore duty was up. They shipped him, his family, his household, and all of their goods to Los Angeles. And it was there he ended up having been attached to what the hell ship was it? Coral Sea.
Mm.
And he made one trip over there, retired, came back, they shipped him and all of his household goods and his family right back to Florida where he came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when he was in LA, you would have been here, right? Did you
No,
ever?
they lived, I don't know what community they
Yeah,
were in,
but-
Van Eden and I lived over on Pittman.
Uh-huh.
So they had their car all loaded up and come through, and I made first class. And he stopped by, he brought a big old box in, a chief uniform, set them down in here and said, "These are for you.
Wow.
If you can use them,
Yeah.
use them, you know." And man, I could. At that time we were about the same, yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't lost 3.5 inches and 20 pounds.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and they went on to Florida.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, and I can't remember what month was. I think the following May, I made E7.
Wow. And all those uniforms came right in handy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Saved you a small fortune on tailoring and
Yeah.
insignia and all that.
Yeah, the morning that I was going to be promoted, a friend of mine said, "Come on, they're going to bust your balls and ride to work with me." I said, "Okay." The door bell rang and I went to the door and there was 2 shore patrol standing there. They took me out in handcuffs.
No way.
Yeah,
Wait, from Pittman?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. All the neighbors wonder what the hell's going on
Yeah.
over there, you know. And haul my ass to Miramar.
Yeah. Wow. That took some doing. They had to organize that.
Yeah,
They had to find these PMOs and
Yeah.
you know, and get them over there. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a rich history there. Every time I talk to you, Papa, I hear a story I've never heard before. Every single time. It's as if you have a century of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was a great day. I was glad when the hazing was over with.
Yeah. When you made chief.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, there weren't that many people above you that could haze you at that point. Just a few ranks of people that could haze you, right?
oh yeah. There's some old chiefs in there. A couple of E8s.
Hmm.
One old chief. Well, he was yeah, he was still E8. I think he made the E9.
Yeah.
But he lived in Poway. And the old turd raised pigs.
Really?
Yeah. So at that initiation, he brought one of those damn piglets
No way.
there. Yeah. I carried the little shit around for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and somebody else would nurse that pig all day long.
Wow.
Yeah. Guy's name was Vernon. God, I can't remember his last name now.
Wow. Well, what do you think makes a good chief, Papa, versus a petty officer? What do you think is the biggest change when you made chief?
Higher responsibility. You can't look at it like a crew leader anymore because you got 2, 3, 4, 5 crew leaders that you've got scheduled, and all of those crew leaders have a different idea on handling a crew of men. Yeah, I went into a shop with 32 men. And so you gotta listen to some crybaby stories. You gotta listen to some marital problems. Just over, you have to quickly learn the administrative part. Of course, a lot of E6s get that training. But it's a whole different world. I'll tell you what, in fact, several months ago, I was thinking, you're in a crew and you guys get tight, you know, and that second class above you or that first class above you, he's a turd. He don't know how to run a crew. You know, I would do this and that. Well, one morning you wake up and you're in that turd spot.
Yeah.
The whole world changes.
Yeah.
The responsibility changes. Now you're nailed down and you've got to control those turds below you, you know? And so you don't get training in the military that way. It's the daily thing, observing what's going on, making sure you know the difference between the fly shit and the pepper. You know, there's not much difference in. When you've been there, you better learn what you can. Even though you say, hell, I'm not staying in this chicken shit outfit. I'm out of here. And then the day comes and you got your hand raised in the air again. You know? It's, now the whole world changes. You know, I mean, you are one, and you didn't expect to be one, or you would have done things a little different.
Right.
You know. But that's any walk of life in any profession that you get into.
True.
You know.
Yeah.
There's always not a jealousy, but there's always I guess you would, of the guy ahead of you. That you're doing the same work, same job, but one has more responsibility for that job than the other. So even your drinking, carousing, liberty, surely attitude changes. Yeah. Now you go on the beach and you're responsible for that mouth asshole to make sure that he doesn't get picked up by the military police.
Well, it's your responsibility until it becomes your problem.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I would not go back and do it over again. It's too, well, attitude. Overall military, it's not the same.
Mm.
You know. Vocabulary has changed.
Mm.
Have to be very careful about the words you use anymore.
Mm.